October 9th, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. We have a special edition today, coming up later today. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urges for a unity government as terror attacks sweep across the country. As the Syrian military begins a vast anti-rebel offensive, NATO and the United States condemn Russia for its ongoing involvement in the country. And later in the show, we'll be talking about cell phones and relationships. Is your cell phone sabotaging your romantic life? A new study suggests a link between the two. Good morning. I'm Yael Wisner-Levy, and welcome to I-24 News Morning Edition. Israeli security services are gearing up for a day of rage throughout the West Bank and Jerusalem. Thousands of troops will be dispersed along roads and flashpoints. This as 7 Israelis were wounded in numerous attacks across the country, while police clashed with Palestinian protesters, resulting in injuries on both sides. In a press conference last night, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed the Islamic movement, Hamas, and the Palestinian Authority for this wave of terror and assured that Israel would keep expanding the settlement enterprise beyond the Green Line, but would keep it quiet for now in the wake of the international backing for anti-terrorism measures. Joining me now in studio is I-24 News senior Middle East analyst Ali Waked. Good morning. And Ami Kaufman, thank you for joining us. Let's all take a look at the following report, and we'll break it down from there.
Thursday, October 8th, the violent escalation continues. A 25-year-old man severely injured by a 19-year-old Palestinian at a rail station. Security forces gain control over the terrorist, an Israeli ID holder, handing him over to security services.
Israeli police responded to yet again another attack here in Jerusalem on the light railway. Heightened security continues in and around Jerusalem at the moment.
5 people were lightly injured in a stabbing attack near the Defense Ministry headquarters. The 19-year-old Palestinian from East Jerusalem initially attempted to grab a rifle from a female soldier who fought back. Then he began stabbing her with a screwdriver, ran, and stabbed 4 others. An IDF officer shot him dead.
Unfortunately, we see ongoing attempts in recent days to disrupt everyday life all throughout the country.
A 25-year-old was seriously wounded in a stabbing attack at the outskirts of Hebron. The attacker escaped, security forces searching the area. Another stabbing attack, this time in the northern city of Afula. A 20-year-old man was moderately injured. The attacker was caught by police.
So at least 4 separate attacks across the country. Ali, today the Palestinians have declared a day of rage. What can be expected in terms of security around Jerusalem and the West Bank?
Today it is the Islamic Jihad and Hamas that declared a day of rage, and it is not the Palestinian Authority, it's not the Fatah. The Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, since the day before yesterday, are calling the Palestinian to turn this day into a day of confrontation, and they are precising, we want to see masses in the checkpoints, we want to see masses in the borders between the Palestinians, Palestinian territory and the settlements, and they are calling the Palestinians to turn this confrontation in a hard and with a stable rhythm that will turn into an intifada. They understand that we are not still in an intifada, and they hope that this day of rage will bring its contribution to the fact that this wave will turn into an intifada. On the other hand, the Palestinian Authority is calling for a calm. Palestinian security services are taking all the measures in order to prevent this popular confrontation will not turn into an armed confrontation with the Israeli security services. And for the moment, what we are expecting is what we saw in the last days. In some points, delicate points where Israelis and Palestinians meet, we are going to see there some clashes, mainly in the region close to the refugee camps, Kalandia at the north of Jerusalem, Beit El with the Jalazun camp camp in Ramallah, Al-Arub in the region of Hebron, but we are not going to see masses in the cities. And it is very interesting, Yael, while there were clashes yesterday, for example, in Ramallah, in the middle of in the center of the city, life was very normal, very usual. People were in the markets, people were in the cafes, in the bars, etc.
Right. And can that be attributed to the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas? Does he have that grip over the Palestinian security services, or the Palestinian people simply are not interested in escalating the situation right now?
Right now, many Palestinians understand that they don't have any interest to escalate the situation. It doesn't mean that they are giving up the political demand that stand behind this escalation. But the Palestinians understand they want to see a popular struggle. They want to see some claim that say the Palestinians are not satisfied with the current situation, but in any way they don't want to give the Israeli right any ammunition to accuse the Palestinians once again in supporting and being involved in terror attacks.
I want to go now to Channel 10's diplomatic correspondent, Moav Vardi. Moav, thank you for joining us. Of course, when you see yesterday's press conference by four of this nation's leaders, you understand that this wave of terror is something that is not only here to stay in terms of what they think, but they're going to be able to overcome it, something that many of the Israeli people in itself aren't so sure of.
Yes, Yael, I think you're right, because this wave of terror does not possess the characters of an intifada on one hand, nor on organized terror with the infrastructure that you can harm or attack. Meaning that these guys who stab people in the street are not coming from organizations like Hamas, or stuff like we have seen in the Second Intifada, and I think Ali will agree with me. So there is no point in going into some kind of a great operation, of a big operation into the West Bank cities, because there is no infrastructure to harm now. On the other hand, there is no popular Intifada now. You don't see the Palestinian people chanting out the streets and, populated the streets in the roads in the West Bank, so there is no point, there is no efficiency in going to a military solution right now. So practically, the Israeli leaders now just have to wait and see if it's going to be over soon, because there is no military solution to this kind of terror.
Let's just take a quick listen to what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say last night during the press conference.
We're in the midst of a terror wave. Hateful terrorists are trying to hurt our people. Babies, children, women and men, civilians and soldiers. The extremists will not achieve anything. We will hunt them down and we will prevail. We're in the midst of a terror wave centered around stabbing, stone throwing. Most of these actions are not well organized, but they are all a result of a reckless incitement by the Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. We act against those who incite and those who perpetrate those attacks. The IDF is working on all fronts.
So, Moav, also I want to go to some of the political headlines coming out from yesterday's press conference. Netanyahu also called for a broad unity government, or at least hinted that he would prefer a broader unity government. And he also touched upon, after your question, the settlement expansion and what international condemnation or pressure has to do with it. I think we don't have Moav on the line, and we'll try to get him back. Ali?
Yes, I will mention three criteria that make the difference between this wave and what we call the Intifada. First of all, there is no ground leadership that is leading this wave of violence. Second, the masses that are gathering in the confrontation with the Israelis are much more reduced than they were in the first or the second Intifada. And three, the political Palestinian leadership and the public official media of the Palestinians are not in any way calling the people for confrontation. And I will add 2 points. in the second intifada and in the first intifada, it was rare to hear Palestinians that are going against the violent confrontation. And now in the social media, but also in the press, you can hear the people say that with all the very romantic name of the intifada, we don't want an intifada. People, the elites, and not only people know that they have what to lose. And the second point, in the first intifada and in the second intifada, there was no deep division within the Palestinian society, within the Palestinian political arena between the main two forces, Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. Hamas is calling for an uprising in the West Bank, while 2 days ago they gathered all the organization and threatened them, not warned them, and threatened them not to shoot any rocket from the Gaza Strip. They want to see Gaza calm, and they want to see the uprising in the West Bank. And in this calculation of all these points, you see that there should happen something big in order to turn this wave into a very routine intifada.
And for now, as you said, both sides, Palestinian Authority and Israel, seem to want to contain the situation rather than make any kind of big statement or moves. We saw that yesterday with the Prime Minister. Yeah,
the Palestinians understand that Benjamin Netanyahu needed to mention the Palestinian Authority in his briefing, but he did not emphasize over the role of the Palestinian Authority. For political reasons, he mentioned the Palestinian Authority because he needed to mention it. But the Palestinians understood that when they see in the Israeli headlines that a senior officer in the military intelligence saying that Abu Mazen is not inciting for violence and he is calling and he's cooperating and calling for calm. This is the situation, and that the Israelis are not really at this time, at least, interested in an escalation. This doesn't mean in any way that they are giving up all the measures that they are taking in the international arena. And by the way, Abu Mazen, because of the very complicated situation, is not succeeding to market a very important point. In the last waves of violence that we know, one of the Israeli riposte were building in the settlements, and this time, since 4 months, the Palestinians are admitting that the Israelis are not building because they know that building in the settlements mean a direct confrontation between the Israeli government and the EU and the United States, and the Israelis want to avoid this.
And Netanyahu did allude to that yesterday in his press conference. I want to go now live to Jerusalem to I-24 News reporter Gabby Weiniger. Gabby, you're standing by, and as we heard now from Ali, a day of rage has been declared by some of the Palestinian factions, Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. What can you tell us from where you're standing?
Yes, Yael. Tensions are still running extremely high after a series of stabbings yesterday. There were 3 knife attacks. One Palestinian attacker is dead. There was one attack in Jerusalem yesterday around midday outside the police headquarters. Right here in Damascus, they have installed metal detectors as an extra security measure. As you can see behind me, they've also installed extra barricades to check people as they're going in and out. So Palestinians are coming to pray at the Al-Aqsa Flashpoint compound under a heavy security presence today.
And Gabby, can you say, or is it too early yet to know the amount of people arriving? Is there a steady movement of people, or is it still too early to declare?
People are going around their day as usual, but there is a heavy police presence. They have actually banned Muslim men from under the age of 50 from arriving to Al-Aqsa Mosque. This may cause clashes in and around the Old City as well as in East Jerusalem neighborhoods. So we'll have to wait and see how many people are actually going to pray. All women are allowed to pray, however, and there are around up to 2,000 police here as well, so they'll be praying under this elevated security.
Gabby Weiniger there in East Jerusalem, Damascus Gate. You, of course, will be updating us throughout today, throughout what has been declared already as a day of rage. Ali, you mentioned the EU and the United States, 2 very central players that usually have more to say. There seem to be that they're keeping out of this next wave of terror, maybe trying to brush it over without trying to intervene directly.
Abu Mazen received messages from both the Americans and the EU, but mainly from the EU that he should contribute to the calm and stop for the moment some of its unilateral measures, and the promise that the engagement he received from the EU, at least at the moment that the Israelis will declare any new building in the settlements, the process of starting to mark the production coming from the settlements will start immediately, and this will be the first step before calling the EU ambassadors from Israel to consultations in Europe. Abu Mazen is counting on the European. This is why he is not putting pressure on the French not to renew their initiative in the Security Council. It is true that also, in one hand, Abu Mazen understands that the Palestinian issue right now is not the top priority of the international community, and Syria counts much more. This is why he doesn't want, for the moment, to change dramatically things. But we are not talking about a situation that will last too much. In next month, in November, Abu Mazen will be at the center of the National Palestinian Council, and their populistic and popular projects will come calling to stop the security coordination, calling to freeze the implementation of the Oslo Agreement, calling to continue in a bigger rhythm of the unilateral steps. So we need to wait what will come first, on the ground, an escalation or an initiative that will help also Abu Mazen inside the Palestinian National Council to not break all the rules with Israel.
I want to try again to go to Moav Vardi, Channel 10 diplomatic correspondent. Moav, Netanyahu also has to succumb to internal politics, and we heard yesterday his call for a broad unity government, and also, of course, succumbing to U.S. pressure, and that has to do with the settlement expansion.
Yes, first of all, regarding his call for a unity government, I think that this is what Netanyahu wanted from the first place. I think that every prime minister wants a unity government. But on this point in time, Yael, I think that this call for unity government will not find a partner in the opposition, because right now maybe Herzog wants to join, and I think Herzog wants to join the coalition, but many members of the Labour Party, of the Machaneh Tzioni, as it's called now, reject the notion, and it's being perceived as to help Netanyahu, rather than to let him, take what it needs for his own actions. And people and members of the Machaneh Tzioni, of the Labour Party, of the Zionist camp, does not want to come and just help Netanyahu now, because this is what's going to be. They're not going to influence his policies. They're just going to be his blanket, or to be his helper, and not to influence leadership. So I don't see, I cannot see it happening now. Maybe after November, after the budget will pass in the Knesset, maybe there is an opportunity there. Regarding the settlements, I think that Netanyahu yesterday night, pull out a red card for the settlers, telling them, listen guys, I'm not going to succumb to your ultimatum. I'm not going to succumb to your threat politically. I have my own policy, and my policy now is that the settlement expansion will be harming my efforts to fight terror. I need, an international umbrella to back up my operations on the ground, and settlement expansion is going to harm that. And I think that politically, Netanyahu made a step yesterday night saying to the settlements movement, I'm not going to succumb to your pressure.
Moav Vardi, Channel 10 diplomatic correspondent, thank you for joining us. And we're going to have the press review next. Ami Kaufman, good morning. Once again, you're here with some headlines that we definitely missed.
I am indeed. Well, it looks like the war of words is getting a bit more fierce between the West and Russia over the bombings in Syria, the Russian air attacks in Syria. The U.S. has warned Moscow that its offensive could backfire. And meanwhile, NATO officials are trying to reassure its European and Turkish allies that are kind of nervous over Moscow's kind of deepening involvement over there. We have a report about it. Let's check it out.
Let's take a look.
Backed by an assertive Moscow, a resurgent Syrian army is on the move. Under the cover of Russian air support, regime forces launched a major offensive Thursday in the Gab plain to retake territory held by rebels.
Syrian armed forces began a big attack with the aim of wiping out terrorist groups and liberating the areas and towns which have suffered from their crimes.
The region is located adjacent to Bashar al-Assad's coastal stronghold. It is the latest indication that Russia is committed to further buttressing the regime while expanding its military assets in the country. In response, NATO ministers convened in Brussels Thursday. The alliance upped the ante by issuing a not-so-veiled warning after Russian fighter jets violated Turkish airspace on 2 occasions this week.
We will show once more that we are united in defending our values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. That we are committed to supporting our partners, and that we are ready to defend every ally against every threat.
But President Vladimir Putin is not marching to NATO's drumbeat. In a further show of strength, Russian destroyers based in the Caspian Sea joined in the Syrian campaign, which the Kremlin says is going according to plan.
We are aware of how difficult such anti-terrorist operations are, and of course it is too early to discuss the results, but the things that have been done so far deserve a high positive mark.
The U.S. begs to differ, ruling out any military coordination with Moscow for the moment and accusing Putin of pursuing a tragically flawed strategy.
Greater than 90% of the strikes that we've seen them take to date have not been against ISIL or al-Qaeda affiliated terrorists. Been largely against opposition groups.
Flawed or not, Russia's course of action is dictating the terms of engagement. For now, the road to Damascus passes through Moscow.
We're now joined via Skype from Moscow by the journalist Julia Lyubova. Good morning, Julia. Thank you for joining us. I want to touch upon that last sentence of the report. The road to Damascus starts or ends or goes through at least Moscow, meaning Moscow's not going to let up its intervention in Syria anytime soon. It sees it as a clear policy and a clear interest for Russia as well.
Well, that's right. Moscow says that it's going to only intensify its campaign, and before he was saying that it's this campaign, this military operation will be limited to its air force, but now on Wednesday it started launching missiles from its warships in the Caspian Sea. So Moscow says that it's only going to intensify its campaign. Of course, there's a lot of criticism that Moscow's campaign has come under from the West, which says that Russia's targets are not related to the so-called Islamic State group. But Moscow dismisses this information, saying that its operation is against ISIS and other terrorist groups, and that it's going to continue to do so. But Moscow says it is openly saying that it is supporting the Syrian army and the Syrian government.
Julia Lyubova there in Moscow, thank you for joining us this morning. Ami, back to you. Next headline.
Yeah, we're going to go back to Yemen and the civil war there. A second Yemen wedding has been bombed by the Saudi-led coalition. About a week ago, if you remember, basically the bloodiest day in the civil war so far, when the Saudi-led coalition bombed a wedding and killed 131 people. Now the death toll is a lot lower. It's about 15 people killed. But this all comes on the heels of an announcement on Wednesday that the UN said that the Houthi rebels are actually willing to accept a ceasefire.
Right.
And this is the first time that they've said that in a long, long time. Now we're waiting to see if the Yemeni government that has come back to Aden, a few of its officials have come back to Aden, which is now fairly safe, if they are willing to accept this ceasefire and see what happens there.
But the airstrikes have continued nonetheless.
Airstrikes have continued, and of course it's the civilians that are suffering the most.
Absolutely.
Over 4,000 people dead in basically the Arab world's poorest country, residing in the grip of a very grave humanitarian crisis. There's famine in certain parts of the country, with no electricity and no gas. Very difficult situation there in Yemen right now.
Absolutely.
Europeans are waking up today to some news that is going to pretty much be the talk of the day, I think. The FIFA shake-up.
Unbelievable how many headlines this organization has garnered in the past few months.
I know. Well, we've kind of been a lull in the past few weeks. Haven't heard about too much, but now we're going to hear about for the next few weeks, I think, Sepp Blatter, his the president of UEFA, Michel Platini, and Jerome Valk, Sepp Blatter's deputy, have been suspended from their duties for 90 days. These are punishments that that were handed out by the ethics committee of FIFA, which is
them a while,
investigating. Well, yeah, it took them a while. They only started investigating a few months ago out of corruption allegations of actually it's based on a payment that was Sepp Blatter gave to Michel Platini a few years ago of over 2 million euros.
Wow.
So that's what they're trying to find out exactly, to get down to the bottom of that. Meanwhile, they're going to be suspended for 90 days. And they also banned ex-FIFA vice president Chung Moon, who's a South Korean billionaire. And the reason this is important because both Michel Platini and both Chung are trying to replace. They're going to run for president when Sepp Blatter was supposed to step down in the coming February.
Wow.
So very.
Can't find a clean man or woman out
Can't
there.
find that. And of course, they're denying
Man
that
in this
both
case,
of the,
yeah.
right. Both of them are denying that they did anything wrong. Blatter said that he looks forward to the opportunity to present evidence that will demonstrate that he did not engage in any misconduct, criminal or otherwise. And Platini described the developments as farcical, with the allegations against him astonishingly vague and based on mere semblances.
This will be interesting.
It's good, yeah.
I see the Netflix series in the making.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to watch that one. Nobel season is in full gear, and now we're talking about the Literature Nobel Prize, and it is the first Nobel Prize going to a Belarusian author. This is a journalist. Her name is Svetlana Alexievich. She's an investigative journalist. She's the 14th woman to get this prize, Literature Prize, out of the 112 winners so far. She writes about, but by the way, what's actually really interesting about this is the Nobel Literature Prize is, it's not fiction. The last two people that got the, for nonfiction were actually Bertrand Russell and Winston Churchill in 1950 and 1953, respectively. So it's been over half a century.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or 60, almost 70 years, I think, that a nonfiction writer has gotten this prize. And she is a woman who wrote she's most famous for writing about Chernobyl and her testimonies of it. She interviewed many people in the 80s after that disaster in Chernobyl, and it was called Voices from Chernobyl, the Oral History of a Nuclear Disaster.
Wow.
So that's what she's famous for.
And it's a good push for journalists, huh?
It is. It's a very good push. You're next. Come on.
Yeah, I'm right there.
Okay,
right up there.
Let's end with the states. Two items that I have about the states in the election. Rupert Murdoch, the media mogul, apologized for a tweet. Apologized for a tweet that he sometimes he goes on these Twitter rants every once in a while. And here's the first tweet that he wrote. He's talking about Ben Carson, the black man who was running for president on the Republican side. He says, Ben and Candy Carson, terrific. What about a real black president who can properly address the racial divide and much else? A real,
as opposed to
black, yes, go ahead, please say that.
I mean, is he suggesting that someone else
is not black or is not really
black? Take his phone out of those hands.
Amazingly. So his next tweet, as you can see, is I apologize. No offense meant. Personally, I find both men charming.
Well, that calms me, you know? I don't know. It's a Trump versus Murdoch war out there. Who can say the funniest, darndest things, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Ami Kaufman, thank you for joining us. Next up, a new study suggests that smartphones might be ruining our relationships. Maybe it's ruining Rupert Murdoch's relationship, and probably maybe doing so. Headlines are next. Welcome back to I-24 News Morning Edition. We now get to say good morning once again to Ami Kaufman here with the viral spiral that is the web.
Good morning, Yael. I'm back. How are you?
I'm good. I'm better now.
You're better now?
Yeah.
That's good.
I like talking about the web stories. Much more interesting.
Well, you'll be able actually to convey your feelings much easier now.
Yeah.
Like you're better now on Facebook. Because if you remember last month in September, CEO Mark Zuckerberg said that they were working on a new button. People thought it would be something like a dislike button. Like a thumbs down kind of button.
Right.
No, it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be something like these emojis that you can see, I think, on the screen right now.
Right.
We're going to have about 6 or 7 emojis. Like, love, haha, yay, wow, sad, angry.
There's so many other emotions, though.
There are. They're going to start with these, I think.
Okay.
And it's going to roll out next week, but only in 2 countries, in Spain and in Ireland. These are the only countries that it's going to roll out on first week.
How did they choose the pilots?
Well, they thought that, actually, it says here in TechCrunch, there's an explanation from Adam Mosseri, who's Facebook's director of product. It says because they both have largely national user bases without extensive international friend networks. So they work better as a closed test group. Ireland is English-speaking, while Spain lets Facebook test out how well the wordless emoji play with non-English users.
Nice.
That's why they chose those
Basically,
two countries
they're
to
two
start
nationalistic countries that stick to each other.
They stick to each other. They're very, I guess, I don't know, maybe they're xenophobic or ethnocentric. I don't know what they are. They don't like. I don't know if they should take that as a compliment or not.
Yeah.
But that's where it's going to start, and we'll probably see about it, see the results in the next few weeks and see how it works.
Yeah. Okay.
Lucky them. They can do
Yay
it. We
emoji. I think I'll use that one the most.
Did you like Sherlock? Did you watch it with Benedict Cumberbatch? Were you a fan? You didn't see
you're
it?
gonna have
I was
to...
a big fan.
Really? Okay.
It was a great show, and I think a lot of the fans around the world are going to be very happy because there's a new one-time episode coming out for Christmas. And as you know, the Sherlock originally with these two guys, Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, was set in like a modern time era. Now they're actually going back to the Victorian era for a one-time show for Christmas. And I have a few seconds. I want to show you a trailer for the show. Let's check it out.
Let's take a look.
I made me.
Who are you? I demand you speak. Who are you?
The name is Sherlock Holmes, and the address is 221B Baker Street.
Little use us standing here in the dark. After all, this is the 19th century.
I have to finish this.
This one. Why?
You're Sherlock Holmes. Wear the damn hat.
I might have to just start watching that show.
It's a great show. I think you'll love it. Benedict Cumberbatch is great, and Martin Freeman, he's great in everything he does, I think.
Yeah.
I was kind of raised in Dallas for a few years, and this is a big thing in Dallas. The Neiman Marcus Christmas book, the Neiman Marcus catalog. Neiman Marcus is a very important retail store. It's headquartered in Dallas, and every time they have this crazy Christmas book with very expensive. And being very, that's an understatement. Things that you can buy in its catalog. They used to have, like a few years ago, they had his and hers Humvees. In different colors. That was what you could buy. So let's see. I want to check out some of the things you can buy in this year Neiman Marcus's Christmas catalog. For the most expensive one is something called Explore India for $400,000. $400,000. It's the most expensive thing in the book. It's a 12-day, 5-city trip to India. Includes private jets, luxury suites, a sunrise tour of the Taj Mahal, and a private dinner with a Bollywood star. Next, as you can see from this,
you can do it with $40,000.
$400,000. $400,000. This next one, as you can see from the headline, that is Keanu Reeves there next to a motorcycle. For $150,000, you can have a 2-day, 3-night motorcycle ride along the California coast with Keanu Reeves and a custom bike maker. That's the guy next to him, Gard Hollinger.
He just sold himself for, that's his price?
$150, yeah, that's his price. It's open to 3 lucky customers and a guest. And the next one for $90,000.
Lucky and paying customers.
That's right. You can go to the edge of the world. I think we have a picture of this balloon. It's a high-altitude balloon that will lift a luxury pressurized capsule 100,000 feet above the Earth, offering 360 degrees views of Earth. And you'll have to wait until 2017, though, for that to happen.
How much does that cost?
That costs $90 grand.
You want to tell me that costs less than the India
trip? That costs less than Keanu Reeves, is that?
Yeah, or like hanging out in India.
Yeah, I don't know.
As a former Indian backpacker, I can tell you that $400,000 in India.
But you know how much lunch with a Bollywood star costs?
I guess that's where I missed.
That hikes it up. I don't know this woman. Her name is Iris Apfel, but you can get styled by Iris Apfel. She's a 93-year-old style icon.
I think that's the best thing yet.
It's $80,000.
Oh.
And of course, here comes the his and hers kind of thing. But this year, they're doing it different. It's for kids. They get these McKinsey child's trunks featuring your child's hand-painted initials and holding a selection of Chasing Fireflies Ultimate Collection costumes. The boys' version includes 5 Marvel superheroes costumes, while the girls holds 5 Disney princess-themed costumes.
Good. So the 1950s are here to stay.
Exactly. That only costs $5,000 for your kids. The his and hers.
Christmas came early for you. I'm getting the Marvel stuff.
You're getting the Marvel
girls.
stuff for me. 5,000 grand. Selena Gomez, pop star.
Yeah.
If you remember, she was dating Justin Bieber.
I remember.
A few years ago. And then she had this weird breakup, and she disappeared for a while, and she went to rehab, and nobody exactly knew why. But now we know why. She comes out and she says why she was there. She underwent chemotherapy. She had cancer. She discovered actually, first of all, the first sign she had lupus. And then she had to go and do some further tests, and she found out that she had cancer. She underwent chemotherapy.
Well, hope she is full recovery.
She's apparently very healthy right now. Here's another viral video. This is a group of Little League football players. They're called Pee Wee football players. These are guys that come out on the field during a halftime of a regular football game. This is actually a varsity high school game. Here they are on the field, and usually they kind of play music during this little halftime kind of show.
Right.
But the kids here in this video, they're kind of like, they can't really concentrate on the game. They're on the line of scrimmage, and they're playing a very famous song, "Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nene." You know that thing that's going crazy? Let's see what happens with these kids.
Okay.
As you can see, he almost scores a touchdown, that guy, because everybody's dancing and not paying attention that the game has already started.
That's and they're it makes for good home videos.
It makes for, yeah, it's already got like 1 million views or something, this thing.
Nice.
I love it. I love it. Cute kids.
Very
They're like
cute
7,
kids.
8-year-olds. We have time for some more?
Yeah, one more.
One more. Okay, this is a new craze on Twitter and Facebook. It's called, there used to be a craze called planking. You know, this yoga thing where you plank and you take a picture just with your arms out.
Right.
Okay, so now there's this thing called the frozen chook, which is where you make your body like a frozen chicken in a supermarket, and people are taking pictures of themselves in the frozen chook pose in various
Is this
different.
to raise
Here's one.
awareness?
Here's one in front of KFC. It's kind of funny.
Is this to raise awareness, or
it's not to raise awareness.
Oh,
just
of
to
course
kind of.
not.
It's just
No,
like
it's just egotistical. Like, look at me naked as a chicken.
It has no merit whatsoever. They're just being funny on the web. That's what people do in frozen chook.
We know what we're going to be doing this weekend.
I know maybe what you're going to be doing, not me.
While I shop in Neiman Marcus.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, thank you, of course,
My pleasure.
for joining us. With us now is Lital Shemesh. Thank you for joining us with some science studies that are going to, maybe you should know about this too. Yeah, you and I are big smartphone users.
I want to hear about this.
Yeah.
I want to hear about this.
Yeah, exactly. The new study shows us the damage that our smartphones and tablets and in general the internet is causing to our memory and brain. And you know, I don't know if you know any numbers of your husband, your mother, if you can call them without using your phone. I know that I don't know
nothing.
I forgot long ago.
Exactly, exactly. Maybe the only number I know is my childhood house number and
landline.
Exactly. And it's only because I didn't have cell phone back then, so you used to really dial. And this new study talks about digital amnesia, and it shows us that we really not using our memory for anything. If we want to go from one place to the other, I can use the Waze or the GPS time and again, even though I already used drove the same route. Yet we're Googling stuff that maybe we could have find in the back of our minds, but we still go into Google. And that research shows us that 57% could not call their office without looking at their phone.
Yeah, well, I'm guilty of it as well. I have to say, I don't know how to get out of it. I'm not gonna, stop using my mobile phone.
And I use my Waze to go 100 meters from the house.
To make sure I won't get in any traffic.
Sometimes I even use the Waze or the GPS when I need to walk from one place to the other, and it's a new neighborhood or a place I don't know, and I use it again and again, although I already walked that route. So it's important to maybe try and kind of recall stuff from your mind before you're going into Google to search for the capital of Argentina or something like that, because maybe sometimes you will know, and you're just damaging your memory for long term.
Right.
Buenos Aires. It took me a while, right?
Yeah, it did.
So we're staying in the technology arena, and the next study shows us that smartphones might ruin our relationships, and we all kind of doing that sneaking peeking our phone while we're sitting with friends or family, checking messages, but we don't know that we're causing a long-term damage, because the other person, although we're thinking that we're just checking our phone for 1 second, the other person is gaining, becoming more insecure in the relationship, and it's really damaging the relationship.
I hear myself in this. Let's take a short look at this next report.
Yes.
I'm a little queasy because that's me.
There's a new term, by the way, called phubbing.
Right.
It's using your phone next to people.
Phubbing?
Phubbing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
the act of snubbing.
There you go.
Yeah, or in a social setting.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, we tend to do that before we go to bed.
Yeah.
For all of us. I mean, we need to really start doing something about it. When we're sitting in a restaurant with someone, with our friends, meetings, constantly checking our phone, so it's causing...
And the Apple Watch has made it worse.
Has it?
Yeah, because you keep on getting like WhatsApps and to your watch, to your wrist, and it like buzzes. And I have friends that just like watch their watch.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, we're giving really good advices for the good life for people here.
Yeah, we'll see how we can implement it. That'll be a little bit harder.
Yeah. So the next study shows us that staying up late will cause us gaining more weight, especially with teenagers that usually stay up till 1, 2 a.m. And one of the reasons for that is because most of the times when we stay up late, we eat late, mostly junk food. We won't start cooking at midnight or at 1 a.m. We'll probably just nibble something really, really bad for our body. And the other reason is because when you stay up late, you usually skip breakfast. And when you skip breakfast, you're kind of damaging the entire metabolism system, which is also very, very bad. So don't stay up late.
I used to be a late sleeper, and you go to those 12 o'clock hamburger places at night, blah, blah, blah. I've changed, I have to say. So there's progress.
What's a good time to go to sleep now? What's a good time for an adult?
I crash. I crash. Well, I have 2 little kids.
So you crash at like after the news, you're like...
I'm done. Yeah. I try to watch some Netflix, but then I fall asleep in that. But yeah. That's a good...
Like, whenever the kids are asleep, you're like trying to try and get some sleep also.
Yeah.
Well, let's just take a quick look at this report as well.
It's something all teens love, staying up late. This morning, a new study from UC Berkeley finds that if your teen goes to bed late, they are at a higher risk of gaining weight.
This is the first study of its kind to look at the relationship between bedtimes and weight gain above and beyond sleep duration. So you're more likely to gain weight going to bed at 2 a.m. than you are at 9 p.m., regardless of how much sleep you're getting.
More than 3,000 people were studied, and over 60% of young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 went to bed past 11 p.m.
That late bedtime was associated with an increase in weight gain that corresponds to 2.1 unit increase in body mass index over that developmental period.
So what exactly does that mean? On average, a 5'5" female teen who weighs 132 pounds and goes to bed late during the period from adolescent to adulthood will gain approximately 12 pounds.
At 11 or 12 at night, you're not likely to reach for a salad or an apple. You're more likely to reach for pizza, hot dogs, or hamburgers. And that over time could lead to increased weight gain.
You've been warned.
Yeah.
Go to sleep early.
How can you go to sleep at night? It's so hard.
Yeah, that was too much.
Too early.
Yeah.
Last one?
So the last one is talking about pregnancy, and we all know the symptoms of women sometimes getting depressed during their pregnancy, but did you know that men get it too?
No.
So
it's going to annoy me. I can argue.
Yes, so apparently according to a new study, 13.3% of expected fathers experience different levels of depression during their wife's pregnant. So I think it's important to also acknowledge that and to be kind to your husband whenever you send him to get you some ice cream.
Yeah. They have to like get into our realm of like, this is our depression. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we need to remember that their life is also changing. It's going through a different phase from one phase to the other. So whenever you send them to get you some ice cream, just get them to get something for themselves.
Right.
Lital Shemes, thank you for joining us, and Ami, take that into account.
I will.
Yeah. I'm sure you will. We leave you now with the best of this week's morning edition, including a new photo exhibition that takes us inside the world of prostitutes in Israel, and the latest also from Paris Fashion Week. But first, we're going to hear some more of this morning's headlines. Have a wonderful weekend here from the Jaffa Port.